Hello there, boys and girls. So today we're going to keep going over and practicing what we have learned about sentences. Now, sentences are made up of words. We talk in sentences. When I talk, can you understand what I am saying? Yes, because the words I'm saying are put together so that you can understand them. And that is just what a sentence is. Even the stories that we read are made up of sentences. You take letters that we've learned this year, your ABCs, you put them together in a special order, that makes words, and then you put those words together to make sentences. And sentences are everywhere. We talk in sentences, we read in sentences, and that way it makes sense. So everything I say, like just in this book, we're just gonna find and read some sentences in this very famous book. Do you know the name of this book? It's called The Very Hungry Caterpillar, and it's one of the most famous books for children. And so, even in this book, as we look, and there are sentences on the page, like it says, in the light of the moon, a little egg lay on a leaf. Did you understand what I just said without even seeing the picture? I'll read it one more time. In the light of the moon, a little egg lay on a leaf. Do you know what I'm saying? You do understand what I'm saying because I'm speaking in sentences. In the light of the moon, a little egg lay on a leaf. And that's exactly what the sentence said, and here's the picture. So sentences tell us something we can understand. And it's very important that we learn to read and write in sentences, like this one. This is a simple sentence I think you could read. What is this word? When it's all by itself, it's I. L-I-K-E is a sight word. So you just should know it like this. Like. I like. What's this word? D-o-g-s. D-o-g-s. Dogs. What is that word? Dogs. I like dogs. That is a sentence. Now let me remind you of some very, very important things about sentences, and we can look at this and know that it's a good sentence. So now I want you to hold up your fingers with me. Hold up 4 fingers. Can you hold up 4 fingers? 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 very important things about sentences. Hold up 1 finger. The first very important thing about sentences is that it begins with a capital letter. And I'm going to draw an arrow. The capital means big. So I'm just going to put an arrow pointing up so that you remember that a capital letter means it's a big letter. So every sentence, the first rule is that every sentence begins with a capital letter. Now hold up 2 fingers. The second very important thing about sentences is that it will always be a complete idea. It will always make sense. All right, so the first thing, it gets a capital letter. The second thing, I put a check mark here because it makes sense. That means it's really a good sentence. So it begins with a capital letter. It makes sense. You understand it. Then the third thing is it always ends with an end mark. We're going to talk more about end marks next year in first grade, but we're going to just talk, this one is called a period or a full stop. And so this is the one that we're going to use the most when we're in PP right now. So this is an end mark. So every sentence begins with a capital letter, that's one. Then the second one, it makes sense. The third one is it has an end mark. And then the last and very important thing is that it has a finger space between each word. Hold up your finger. So when you're writing a sentence, you can put your finger on the paper and make sure that there's one finger space between each word. And that's the 4 very important things you need to know about sentences. So let's go back to our book and see if more things about good sentences. So we're just going back to that first page that we already read. In the light of the moon, a little egg lay on a leaf. Now look at that first letter. Is it a capital letter? That's the first rule. Yes, I is capital. Does it make sense? In the light of the moon, a little egg lay on a leaf. Totally makes sense. I understand it. Do you understand it? Without even seeing the picture. Does it have a full stop or an end mark? It sure does. And it also has a finger space. Now my finger is really big, but it has a space between each word. And that's very important. Okay, so then let's just turn one more page. I'm sure a lot of you have read this story. And I'll read this part. It says, one Sunday morning, the warm sun came up, and pop! Out of the egg came a tiny and very hungry caterpillar. So this is a sentence, and it's quite long, but it has a capital letter, it has an end mark, it has space between each word, and it makes sense. So it's a great sentence. So all around you are great sentences. So let's practice. So I have some sentences that we're gonna practice, and I want you to give me a thumbs up if you think it's a good sentence, and a thumbs down if you think it's not a good sentence. Here's the first one. A big day. A big day. Do you think that's a good sentence? Do you remember the 4 sentence things? It begins with a capital letter. It makes sense. There's a punctuation mark or an end mark, and there's a finger space. Well, I see that it's missing a capital letter anyway, and it's also missing an end mark. But then let's read the words again. A big day. Is that telling me something? No, not really. It doesn't make that much sense. So it's not a complete sentence either. So, it is not a good sentence. Let's put our thumbs down. It's not a good sentence. Let's try another one. Okay, here's the second one. Can you read it with me? The, G-I-R-L is girl. The girl is wet. The girl is wet. Let's read it one more time. The girl is wet. Is that a good sentence? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Look carefully. Thumbs down. Do you know why? Why is it not a good sentence? Well, the first rule of a good sentence is that it begins with a capital letter. Is this a capital letter, a big letter? Nope. So what we can do is erase it, and then I'll put a capital letter there. Now, does it begin with a capital letter? It sure does. Let's keep going. The second rule is that it will be a complete idea. It will make sense. So let's read that. The girl is wet. Does that make sense to you? Do you understand it? I sure do. That's a good idea. That's a good sentence. So the second rule is good. Now the third thing, does it have an end mark? Do you see an end mark at the end of this sentence? The girl is wet. There's no end mark, but I can easily add it. Ready? Here we go. There we go. We fixed it. The girl is wet. Now, is it a good sentence? Does it have an end mark? It sure does. Now, the last thing about a good sentence, the fourth thing, is that it has a finger space between each word. Does this sentence have a space after each word? Yes. So, is this sentence a good sentence? It sure is. The girl is wet. Capital letter, it makes sense, it has an end mark, and it has a finger space. It's a good sentence. Now let's go over the homework assignments that you have this week. So the first thing I want you to do with sentences is you're going to look at this story that I have included in your lesson. Okay, so you're going to look at this story, and it's called Pat the Big Dog. Now, I want you to look at these sentences and get your English notebook out and write these sentences in your English notebook. That's your first job. So I'm going to show you my English notebook and how I want you to write it. So can you see how nicely I used the lines in my notebook? I also wrote with a capital letter. I put an end mark, and there's a gap and a finger space between each word. So I wrote these sentences properly. I want to see that you can write sentences properly using the lines in your book. That's the first thing I want you to do. Then the second thing I want you to do is read this story to me. So send me a video of you reading these sentences. There's a lot of sight words in this story. So sight words are words that you know this fast. You should be able to read them. Like IT spells what? It. So those words a lot of these words you should know. And if you don't know the words, you can sound it out like this. F-A-T. At. At. Then say it faster. Fat. Fat. So these words in this story are either sight words or they are words that you can sound out the letters. So, boys and girls, finish your homework. Send me your sentences in your notebook and send me a video of you reading these sentences, and you'll be done with this first assignment. Boys and girls, have a great day, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.